Hello and welcome to the virtual webinar for the Permanent Local Housing Allocation 5-Year Plan, presented by the City of Fresno Housing and Community Development Division. In this presentation, we will provide a plan overview and invite citizen comments for this new program. We'll begin by presenting an overview of the Permanent Local Housing Allocation Program, followed by a discussion of the activities eligible for funding. Then, we'll present the draft 5-year plan and discuss how citizens may comment on the draft plan. First, we'll introduce you to the Permanent Local Housing Allocation Program. The Permanent Local Housing Allocation, or PLHA, was created by California Senate Bill 2, which was signed into law on September 29, 2017. California Senate Bill 2, also known as the Building Homes and Jobs Act, created a new recording fee on real estate documents. This fee creates a permanent source of funding for local governments to address affordable housing and housing services needs. The PLHA is administered by the California Department of Housing and Community Development. PLHA funds are allocated to local governments using the same formula as the Community Development Block Grant, commonly referred to as CDBG, which is administered by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. While the PLHA uses the CDBG formula to allocate the funds to local governments, the objectives of the program are different from the CDBG program. The PLHA is primarily focused on the development of affordable housing and the provision of housing services. In this way, it is complementary to the other entitlement funds received by the City of Fresno from the federal government. The City of Fresno's first-year PLHA allocation is $3,407,603. The estimated allocation over the first PLHA 5-year time frame is $20,445,618. The amount of funds actually received from year to year will fluctuate based on changes in the amount of fees collected by the state, as well as changes in the CDBG formula variables. In order to receive PLHA funding, the city must prepare a 5-year plan outlining how the funding will be allocated. Activities must be consistent with the city's adopted housing element, which is a component of the city's general plan required by the state of California to analyze housing needs at all income levels and provide strategies to respond to those housing needs. The city must limit administrative expenses paid for which PLHA funds to 5% of the total allocation. If the city reallocates the portion of funds committed to different activities after the adoption of the plan by more than 10%, then the city must amend its plan and citizens must have the ability to comment on the plan amendment at a public hearing. Importantly, a key objective of the PLHA is to provide affordable owner-occupied workforce housing, or AOWH. AOWH is defined as housing that is affordable to persons and families of low or moderate income. The income limits by family size and area median income are presented on this slide. For example, a family of 4 would be considered extremely low income if their income were below $26,200, very low income if their income were below $34,950, low income if their income were below $55,900, and moderate income if their income were below $84,850. The City of Fresno's draft 5-year plan emphasizes assistance to persons with low, very low, or extremely low income. Next, we'll discuss all of the 9 eligible activities that PLHA funds may be used for. For each activity, we'll also discuss briefly whether that activity is included in the city's 5-year plan. Please note that the PLHA regulations allow for a 10th activity. However, this activity is not available to city governments and so is not discussed in this presentation. Activity 1, Development of Rental Housing. The pre-development, development, acquisition, rehabilitation, and preservation of multifamily, residential live-work rental housing that is affordable to extremely low, very low, low, or moderate income households, including necessary operating subsidies. The City of Fresno's housing element and regional housing needs assessment strongly support the need for additional funding for the development of affordable rental housing. The city does currently commit funds to this purpose, including both general funds, funds from the federal government through the Home Investment Partnership Program, and provides technical assistance to affordable housing developers to leverage additional state and federal grants as well as low-income housing tax credits. However, the need for affordable rental housing is substantial, as will be discussed later in this presentation. As such, this activity is included in the city's 5-year plan. Activity 2, Development of Owner-Occupied Housing and ADUs. The pre-development, development, acquisition, rehabilitation, and preservation of affordable rental and ownership housing, including accessory dwelling units, that meets the needs of a growing workforce earning up to 120% of AMI, or Area Median Income. ADUs shall be available for occupancy for a term of no less than 30 days. The City of Fresno's housing element and regional housing needs assessment also strongly support the need for additional funding for the development of affordable owner-occupied housing. Additionally, the PLHA program requires at least 20% of the funding to be committed for the development of affordable owner-occupied workforce housing, or AOWH. The city currently commits funds to this purpose, including funds from the federal government through the Home Investment Partnerships Program. However, the need for affordable owner-occupied housing continues to be substantial, and in response to the need to make home ownership affordable to all income levels, this activity is included in the city's draft 5-year plan. Eligible Activity 3 allows the city to utilize PLHA funds as matching portions of funds placed in local or regional housing trust funds. Eligible Activity 4 allows the city to utilize PLHA funds for matching portions of funds available through the Low and Moderate Income Housing Asset Fund pursuant to Subdivision D of HSC Section 34176. The city is actively pursuing the establishment of a housing trust fund, which is a special type of fund that would allow the city to leverage many different types of funding sources for the development of affordable housing, of which PLHA funds could be one. However, the California Department of Housing and Community Development rules require that, in order to use PLHA funds for this purpose, the fund must already be established. In an effort to continue to develop affordable housing while also pursuing the establishment of a housing trust fund, the city's draft 5-year plan does not include these activities in its 5-year plan. However, it is possible that the city may amend its plan in a future year once a housing trust fund is established, if doing so would allow the city to exceed the goals of this plan. Eligible Activity 5 allows the city to use PLHA funds for capitalized reserves for services connected to the preservation and creation of new permanent supportive housing. A capitalized reserve is a special type of fund that is established during the initiation of a new affordable housing project. The fund is used to ensure that adequate funds are on hand should operating costs, for example, utilities, management staff salaries, maintenance, exceed project income. While the city recognizes the value of this activity, the city believes that more affordable housing units can be built through the provision of loans to project sponsors which, upon repayment, can then be used to develop additional units. Eligible Activity 6 allows the city to use PLHA funds assisting persons who are experiencing or at risk of homelessness, including but not limited to providing rapid rehousing, rental assistance, supportive case management services that allow people to obtain and retain housing, operating and capital costs for navigation centers and emergency shelters, and the new construction, rehabilitation, and preservation of permanent and transitional housing. The city understands how important the provision of homeless assistance is to improving quality of life and outcomes for all its citizens, and currently commits substantial funds to this activity through many sources. Funding currently available for homelessness initiatives includes the city's annual allocation of the Hearth Emergency Solutions Grant, anticipated 5-year funding of $2,440,000, and housing opportunities for persons with AIDS, with anticipated 5-year funding of $2,544,000, as well as funding from the state of California through the Homeless Emergency Aid Program, abbreviated as HEAP, with $3,105,000, and Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention, abbreviated as HHAP, with $6,158,000. Additionally, the Fresno Madera Continuum of Care receives federal funding through the Continuum of Care program. $10,662,000 were received in 2019. And the Fresno Madera Continuum of Care also receives additional funding from the state through the HHAP program, receiving $2,954,000. Finally, additional funding has been made available through the CARES Act to respond to the coronavirus through the Hearth Emergency Solutions Grant Program. $10,948,000 has been awarded for this purpose, and the Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS program for coronavirus has been awarded $92,000. While additional funding is still needed for homeless assistance, the city believes that, given the other sources available and the connection between homelessness and the lack of affordable housing, PLHA funds should instead be committed to those activities that create and preserve affordable housing. As such, homeless assistance is not included in the city's 5-year plan for PLHA funding. Eligible Activity 7 allows PLHA funds to be used for accessibility modifications in lower-income owner-occupied housing. The city currently commits funds from the CDBG program to owner-occupied home rehabilitation, including $1,028,000 in its recently adopted annual action plan for 2020 to 2021. This plan will also include additional funds for owner-occupied rehabilitation funded with PLHA funds. However, given the significant needs for rehabilitation to maintain the stock of affordable ownership housing, the city is not proposing to commit funds exclusively to be used for accessibility modifications at this time. Eligible Activity 8 allows the city to use PLHA funds for efforts to acquire and rehabilitate foreclosed or vacant homes and apartments. The city has identified 21 vacant sites ranging in size from 1 to 7.73 acres, which are located in high opportunity areas of Fresno, which have been identified as potential areas for development to support equitable communities. While the city recognizes this as a significant opportunity, PLHA funds will not be committed specifically to the rehabilitation of vacant properties. However, where opportunity exists to meet the objectives of other PLHA activities, vacant properties will be considered for development. Finally, eligible activity 9 allows the city to use PLHA funds for homeownership opportunities, including but not limited to down payment assistance. The city previously offered a home buyer assistance program utilizing State of California CalHome funding, which expired in April 2017. However, subsequent CalHome funding was granted specifically for disaster assistance to wildfire-affected areas. As the city has not had an alternate funding source for its homebuyer assistance program, the city's draft 5-year plan for PLHA funding includes homeownership opportunities. Now that we've discussed the PLHA program requirements and eligible activities, we'll discuss the city's draft 5-year plan to be released for public comment on July 3rd, 2020. The city has selected 4 activities from the list of 9 eligible activities to include in the PLHA 5-year plan. These include development of affordable rental housing for very low-income individuals and families, development of single-family homes for low-income individuals and families, owner-occupied home rehabilitation for low-income persons, and down payment assistance for low and moderate income persons. We will discuss each of these activities in more detail on the next slides. The city plans to use PLHA funds for affordable rental housing by offering low-interest deferred loans to project sponsors for the development of affordable multifamily rental housing, focusing on areas of opportunity. Areas of opportunity are areas where residents can readily access quality jobs, schools, and neighborhood amenities. Citing affordable housing initiatives in areas of opportunity is a priority in both the city's housing element and was also identified as a priority in the city's 5-year consolidated plan for federal funding through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Community Planning and Development programs. This activity is aligned with the city's housing element program to strengthen partnerships with affordable housing developers and the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, which identified a housing need of 5,666 units for very low-income persons between the years of 2015 and 2023. Affordable housing developments funded through this program shall be evidenced through a promissory note secured by a deed of trust with a 55-year required affordability period. Implementation of this program will be through the city's Notice of Funding Availability, or NOFA, process, wherein the city issues NOFAs for affordable housing development and substantial rehabilitation. Projects that meet the requirements set forth in this plan will be considered for PLHA assistance. The affordable rental housing activity will receive 28.5% of the annual allocation for each of the 5 plan years, with first-year funding of $971,100. The city estimates that 11 units per year will be developed, for a total of 55 units over the plan period. The area median income level served for this activity will be 30%. The second activity proposed for funding through the PLHA is the development of affordable single-family homes, also focused in areas of opportunity. This activity not only addresses the housing element program of strengthening relationships with affordable housing developers, but is also aligned with the state requirements that at least 20% of PLHA funds be used for the development of affordable owner-occupied workforce housing. Implementation of this program will be through the city's NOFA process, wherein the city issues NOFAs for affordable housing development to community housing development organizations. Projects that meet the requirements set forth in this plan will be considered for PLHA assistance. The affordable single-family housing activity will receive 28.5% of the annual allocation for each of the 5 plan years, with first-year funding of $971,100. The city estimates that 4 units per year will be constructed for a total of 20 homes over the plan period. The area median income levels served for this activity will be 50%. The third activity proposed for PLHA funding is owner-occupied home rehabilitation, focusing on projects that the city does not currently fund through other programs, such as mobile home repair for individuals below 60% area median income. This activity is aligned with the city's housing element programs, housing rehabilitation, and mobile home parks. The city has been pursuing a funding source for mobile home rehabilitation, and the PLHA offers a permanent source of funding to establish a program to rehabilitate mobile homes as well as other properties that may not be eligible for the city's current CDBG funded owner-occupied home rehabilitation program. Implementation of this program will be through the city's NOFA process, wherein the city issues NOFAs for owner-occupied home rehabilitation programs. Projects that meet the requirements set forth in this plan will be considered for PLHA assistance. The owner-occupied home rehabilitation activity will receive 9.5% of the annual allocation for each of the 5 plan years, with first-year funding of $323,923. The city estimates that 4 units per year will be rehabilitated, for a total of 20 homes rehabilitated over the plan period. The area median income levels served for this activity will be 60%. The fourth and final activity proposed for funding is the provision of down payment assistance to first-time homebuyers. This activity is aligned with the Housing Element Program Homebuyer Assistance. The city's previous homebuyer assistance program's funding was exhausted in 2017, and the city has been pursuing alternate funding sources for this activity. The PLHA offers a new permanent source of funding which will allow the city to once again offer homebuyer assistance programs. Implementation of this program will be through the city's NOFA process, wherein the city will issue a NOFA for down payment assistance providers. Projects that meet the requirements set forth in this plan will be considered for PLHA assistance. The down payment assistance activity will receive 28.5% of the annual allocation for each of the 5 plan years, with first-year funding of $971,100. The city estimates that 21 households per year will be assisted, for a total of 105 households assisted over the plan period. The area median income levels served for this activity will be 80%. The chart on this page shows the 5-year plan summary and illustrates that each of the 4 activities will be funded at their respective allocations for each year of the 5-year plan period. Multifamily rental housing, affordable single-family housing, and down payment assistance will each receive 28.5% of the annual allocation for each year. Owner-occupied rehabilitation will receive 9.5% of funding for each year. And finally, the city will utilize 5% of the PLHA allocation to administer the PLHA programs each year. The plan covers the years from 2020 to 2024. The plan years presented here are based on the year when the funding agreement is expected to be issued to the city. We will now discuss how citizens may comment on the draft PLHA 5-year plan. The city encourages residents to offer comments on the 5-year plan during the comment period beginning on July 3rd and ending on July 15th. Comments may be submitted by mail to the City of Fresno Planning and Development Department, Attention Housing and Community Development Division, 2600 Fresno Street, room 3065, Fresno, California 93721. Comments may also be submitted by email to hcdd@fresno.gov. Please include PLHA in the subject line. Comments may be submitted by phone by calling 559-621-8300, by TTY text telephone at 559-621-8721, and by fax to 559-457-1579. A public hearing will be held at a meeting of the Housing and Community Development Commission on July 15, 2020 at 5:00 p.m. Residents may participate in the hearing using Zoom by navigating to zoom.us/j/934-629-05526. Residents may also participate by phone by calling 1-669-900-9128 and entering meeting ID 934-6290-5526. Spanish and Hmong interpretation will be provided. Individuals may request additional accommodations by contacting the Housing and Community Development Division at 559-621-8300 or hcdd@fresno.gov at least 3 business days prior to the meeting. Residents may also comment prior to City Council consideration on July 16, 2020. Virtual participation instructions will be posted with the agenda at least 3 business days prior to the City Council meeting and may be found at www.fresno.gov/calendar.aspx. Individuals may request additional accommodations by contacting the office of the City Clerk at 559-621-7650 or clerk@fresno.gov at least 3 business days prior to the meeting. Thank you for taking time to learn about the city's permanent local housing allocation 5-year plan. To view the plan in its entirety, please visit www.fresno.gov/housing and select the tab Plans and Reports.